Call in by clicking the link in the stream's description. The professor wants to hear from you.
Beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good car.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back and focus on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Isn't it lovely?
Welcome, and thank you once again. I am Professor Barron, and this is A Barron's Thought. And today's episode is brought to you in part by Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. Now, if you're anything like Professor, when I grew up, I was big into wrestling, of course, but I used to get the figures and everything. Well, as I got older, I was lucky enough to work for a certain toy store, and I could get my hands on anything. So I used to grab them and I put them back and I collect them. Well, recently I decided to go through some old stuff of mine, and Lord, I found a lot of my old figures. Well, I thought to myself, well, I'm just sitting there collecting dust. I need to see if I can make any money off of these. And lo and behold, I found this great place, Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. They have so much different wrestling things. Plus, they also have comic books. They have VCR tapes. They have cards. They are one-shop place for anything that you can desire. So, what you need to do is go check them out. Above me, you will see a QR code. That's where you can go to their Facebook page and find them. So if you're in the East Tennessee area, make sure you check out Tag Team Toys and Collectibles. I'm telling you, tell them Professor sent you to. Now, today, guys, I have a very special guest. Now, I call myself being a professor and having knowledge of a lot of different wrestlers and a lot of different types of wrestling. But for the professor here, this is the first time, and I'm very happy that this person is going to bless me with their appearance and to come on the show. This is Junie Toon. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, honestly. This last Friday, I actually won tag team gold with my tag team partner, Steffi Mack. So our tag team is called MILF and Cookies. And you heard that right, MILF, like mothers I'd love to fight. We'll go with fight. There might be kids listening. We'll go with that word. But I won that. We won that in a club in Ann Arbor called Uplift. And we're wrestling for Divine Women's Pro Wrestling. But yeah, honestly, that was a really fun time. Had a really chill weekend, and so far this week things have been trying me, but I get to wrestle again on Saturday, so I'll take out that frustration on whoever I'm working with.
See, that's what I was gonna say. You got to take that frustration out on them. So I always like to start with this question: how did you get into wrestling? And did Did you get into it as a kid? Just give me the history of you and wrestling.
Absolutely. So it honestly started, my interest in wrestling in general started when I was a small kid. So I was a 90s kid, the youngest of all my cousins, and we were like low key kind of rednecks. So it was either getting into NASCAR or pro wrestling. And it just so happened the Attitude Era was catching my interest. So we would obviously do exactly the opposite of what the sign would say. We did try it at home, and because I was the smallest cousin, I was the crash test dummy. They always got to be the Hulk Hogan's. They'd be like, "Nah, you get to be the heels because they get beaten up, and we're gonna beat you up." So that's how I got started. We all had fun. As they grew, they kind of grew into different interests, but I realized I still was interested in pro wrestling. I kind of backburned it for several years because I wanted to get like a career started. I didn't want to be like, like the Mickey Rourke's character in The Wrestler, where he's just some broken down person barely able to feed himself.
Right.
But so I got my degree. I have a career, a nice day job, and then I was like, you know what? I was starting to approach like 30, and I figured, pardon my French, but either I got to shit or get off the pot, because something like wrestling, isn't going to work on the same level if I, wait another decade, so to speak. So I delved
Well,
in actually during the pandemic.
well, I was going to say, not everybody can be Diamond Dallas Page and start wrestling at 40.
Exactly. So I started during the COVID, which was a really wild time in and of itself because you really couldn't have crowds on the same level. Now, kind of a misnomer that people couldn't gather. Like, we definitely did have events with crowds in them. It was just, you had to go through all the hullabaloo that none of us liked having to go through. But it gave me some valuable experience because I came in at a time where there were like a lot of experienced people that like they were cutting back just, to keep their own health in check, or because lack of fans, because you can't pack these venues out, means paydays are smaller. So some of these people are like, I'm going to take these months to kind of rest and recuperate like I've never been able to. So being really new and really enthusiastic, it was actually a really good time for me because there were a lot of these openings and a lot of these gaps in cards, and they're like, yeah, come in, get these reps, be like, positive energy in the locker room. And that's kind of how it started. And now I've debuted in, I think, eight or nine states, including Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So, who was your trainer?
So I've had a few different trainers. Originally I was trained when I was in Indianapolis. I really got a good training there under Joseph Schwartz, and Anthony Lee. They ran the Upstart Pro Wrestling Academy. And what I liked about their academy is they actually have a 20 by 20 ring. So kind of the size that the Fed uses. And it's interesting working in a ring that large. Because if you're used to training in a 16 by 16, it's a lot harder to like finagle those extra feet. But if you trained in a 20 by 20, then going to a 16 by 16, it's an easier time. But I'm tall, so really the difference didn't matter a whole lot.
Right, right.
And then I've also trained up in Detroit at previously was known as House of Truth, now known as Grind Time. So I trained there a little bit before moving to Indianapolis and training at Upstart. My original training was technically in Southwest Michigan, but they really shouldn't have been trainers. So I'm grateful for some of the people in my early career who got me in front of trainers who corrected, any technical issues I may have had early on, which I feel them having to take that time. I think it was great that all happened once again during the pandemic. So like these oopsies, these mistakes, there's a little more grace to be given, and opportunities to learn and grow there, instead of just being like, hey, you're new, you might have done this wrong, we might use you again someday. So I think it was really beneficial, the timing and like this it was strategically unplanned.
Like that. So I'm gonna ask the question, and you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that are ignorant,
Mm.
and I do not want to offend anyone, definitely not you. But I wanted to know how tough was it training, and even now being transgender, is it a lot rougher, or do you find that you're blessed to have a good? Just explain your journey as far as being transgender. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it came to training, honestly, my some of my trainers, they themselves are a part of the community, not necessarily trans, but they already kind of knew, and I knew that they would be a safe space to come up in.
Right.
Honestly, I think you have certain areas like you'd probably never see me just because, the booker's probably not going to book me, whether it's concern over losing sponsorships or just simply have a personal issue with it. But I feel like you have just as many places that are wanting to be more inclusive. So I would say it's kind of six of one, half dozen of the other. Some of it can depend on where you're located. But my light just turned off. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
uh there we go. But I would say overall there's more benefit that I've had from just being around good people than I've seen negative from anything in the business. But also I'm the person who lives out and proud, so I know that there have been some gals I've heard of being unbooked because a promoter didn't know at first, where you aren't getting to the point of booking me without already knowing this fact. So instead of being some awkward, like, oh, this person's transphobic conversation, I cut it off at the pass. For those people, they aren't even going to DM me to begin with. And I think that's given me certain opportunities, like, once again, wrestling at Divine Women's Pro Wrestling. The promoters very much are inclusive. Not the only trans person on the roster, and many of the gals in the locker room are somewhere in the queer community as a whole. So that's a really good locker room. I'm starting to wrestle down in North Carolina at a Pride-based wrestling promotion. So I think being as out as I am, that has given me opportunities, especially to uplift my community, both in like performances that are a part of it, as well as in certain situations that aren't very accepting. Like I debuted in Nebraska, and unfortunately, it went just as bad as you could imagine. A lot of the crowd was awful, but what really sticks out of my mind more than that was after the show, I did still bring out my merch. Funny enough, my grandma, she came from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Lincoln, Nebraska to watch me wrestle.
Oh
As if
wow.
there weren't closer shows. She was just like, oh, I think I just want to go see Nebraska, grandbaby. So so she did that. So I came out to see her for a little bit, and there were these two families that were almost awestruck because they had some teenagers that were queer, and they point blank were like, we never expected to have representation here. So I think that there is a certain niche I can fill as a role model to others, that once again, that openness I have gives me that vulnerability to them. Even if it does mean sometimes I deal with some jerks who try to ruffle my feathers.
Well, I would say that with your openness, it makes it so much better for everybody because with, I'm gonna tell you my thoughts when I looked you up. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, that would be great. I would love to have a trans wrestler so they can give a different perspective of wrestling that people won't get to hear or know. And I believe that it's very, like you said, you are getting to let fans know who are queer that they have representation, and everyone wants to be represented.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you are doing what you do and have such an amazing attitude about it. That is fantastic.
Thank you.
So you told me you said mentioned that you won a title. Is this your first title?
So I've actually won a few titles before as well throughout the years, but it is my first title in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So fun enough, for the tag team titles, here at Divine, they actually got custom made crowns. So I have to show you a photo I have of them, but they are really pretty.
Oh, I
So
like
I
that.
thought that was kind of a fun difference because everyone does belts.
That
Um,
that is amazing. I love to be when they try when promotions try to do a little different and so they can stick out versus another promotion. I love that.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, they didn't like completely change the recipe, but they did, change a little component to make them stand out. Which is honestly, quick aside to Divine Pro Wrestling, it is my one of my favorite places to work. Definitely my favorite in Michigan, just because the venue we're at is amazing. The promoters and bookers, even though they are men, they're not creepy. It's really a welcoming environment. If anything, they would be the person to stop someone from being creepy.
Right,
So they pay their talent what they can and what their talent's worth. So, I mean, honestly, literally the only thing I could say that's a slight bit of a negative is the venue has a very small locker room area. But if that's the worst I could say about my experience, I think that's a testament to the quality that they provide all around.
right. And it's funny uh, talking to someone else, and they mentioned they're like, yeah, I don't. Luckily, I hadn't dealt with creepy men, and I always laugh to myself thinking, man, it's always men that just got to be creepy. They just can't do what we got to do. No, they got to say something silly or do something. Uh, but anyway, so you said North Carolina. Where else are some of the promotions that you have wrestled for?
Yeah, so outside of PWA down in North Carolina, I'll actually be wrestling this weekend at TCW, Traditional Championship Wrestling. That'll be down in Jeffersonville, Indiana. So literally, it's pretty much North Louisville. Like it's just on the other side of the border. Honestly, I think people live in Jeffersonville to avoid Louisville taxes more than anything else. But they have a nice venue there. I've actually been a former tag team champion there. Another tag team I've been a part of was with a wrestler named Loki Havoc. They're also a queer. They're one of my best friends. It was interesting. We actually met at another venue. We both were simultaneous unicorn. I was the last unicorn. They were the black unicorn. And the moment we saw each other, we're like, we got to work with each other. I don't know if it's an opponent, a team, but we got to figure it out. And we eventually did TCW. They gave us a great opportunity. We won their tag belts, defended them for about 5 or 6 months. Then I moved from Indianapolis back to Detroit, had a few life issues happen. But this Saturday, I'm kind of making my return back finally. So we'll kind of see where that takes me because currently Loki, he's won himself some singles gold. So I want to make sure he can focus on that. So who knows? You might see a little unicorn v unicorn action down in Jeffersonville.
Love it, love it. So tell me about your style of wrestling. What are you mat based or you high flyer? Tell me.
So I'm kind of in a transitional period, no puns intended there. But it depends on who I'm wrestling. So I'm 6 feet tall. I'm close to 200 pounds of muscle. So like in a women's division, I'm basically a monster. So like my wrestling style might be more akin to like you're gonna see like bits of Kevin Nash, you're gonna see bits of like Don't Matsumoto, you're gonna see a lot more low, slower, strong brick wall of a woman kind of action. But when I wrestle a lot, because a lot of wrestling's intergender anymore. I wrestle plenty of men as well, and to be honest, in your average indie locker room, I'm still one of the biggest people, even including the guys. But it tends to be more of a closer margin. So like I'll still like emphasize my strength on big moves, but honestly, thanks to Schwartzy, he and I did a lot of like World of Sport type of wrestling. It's a lot of like European, British style. I've always been a fan of like submission wrestling. Heck, this last weekend to do a little bit of I guess just doing a little bit of classroom learning, if you will. I was actually watching some how-to videos on collegiate wrestling, and there are a few things I want to add to that can lead into some moves I do. Like, oh, this is a great way. If I'm down, I can get them down and get them into a Texas cloverleaf in 5 to 6 seconds. So just kind of, I don't like saying hybrid style because I think it's overused, and I think that would be a little bit of a misrepresentation because I don't do flippy things. I will base for anyone who. Oops, I think I lost you there.
No,
You still
I
there?
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. You were
Okay.
froze though.
Sorry, your screen disappeared for a second. But yeah, I don't really do per se. Not much of a high flyer. Like I'll occasionally do like a second rope move or something, but yeah, I tend to do a lot of mat-based maneuvers. I like to throw people around. And yeah, I've found that actually having a little bit of a background growing up in like jiu-jitsu, I've been able to just kind of figure out how the body moves.
Ooh. And we lost her. Uh, I gotta apologize for that. We are going to see if she, there she is. You're back.
Uh-oh. I'm
Can you
not
hear?
sure what happened there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It
Oh,
could be
geez.
from, it could be from my
Because I
end.
can't hear you.
Oh, you can't. Can you hear me now?
Let me try coming back in one more time.
Can you hear me now?
All right.
What about now?
I
Can
can
you?
see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on here. Give me just a second.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I hope we don't need to reschedule. I'm sorry I'm having these
It could be from my end. I've been having some issues here late. You still can't hear me?
still can't hear you. I'll try one more time.
Okay. That's again. I apologize for the issues we are having. I don't know what is causing them. We're gonna try something different though. While we're still. Can you hear me now?
No.
You still can't hear me?
Damn it, I can't hear anything. I'm very sorry about this.
Oh, wow. Can you hear me now?
Um,
What about us? Got to get these guys again. I feel bad because this is not what you come to expect from me. Or maybe you did because I'm having some kind of issue. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I don't know what happened there. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, I've been having issues from my perspective too, and it could be from my internet. I don't know, but let me apologize to you. I've been apologizing to the fans, uh, but we got you back, so that's all that matters. So, if you can start back talking from where you left off, if you remember.
Oh yeah, so it's going over kind of my wrestling style. So
Right.
primarily for me, I kind of mentioned two different sizes of people I generally am working with. Um, Cis women, they're a lot smaller than me. So them, I do kind of lean more into my size. Which actually a lot of them like because I'm just such a strong base. They know that they're safe. Like, so
Right.
from their perspective, they know, oh, I want to do this cool flippy thing. June is strong enough to help make it happen. So it definitely works out positively, and then in kind of in exchange, I make their flippy stuff look good, and they make me look like I could, throw them into the bleachers. But when it comes to men, since there's a little bit smaller of a size gap, so to speak, I do a lot of that mat based. I'll still do like moves that'll build up to showing off my strength. But
Right.
there's a lot of like mat based wrestling. Yeah, thanks to training with Schwartz, just kind of learning a bit of that world of sport, like British wrestling, as well as just kind of liking kind of submission wrestling, ever since first learning it. I even watched some footage this past weekend, just throwing ideas on how to incorporate bits and pieces of collegiate wrestling into like some of those segments. If I might be, on the receiving end of a butt whooping, I can turn that around a lot more effectively.
Right.
Because one thing, if you can stop someone from continuing to like beat you up, it's another if you stop them and then can capitalize on it.
Right.
Um, so I would say I'm kind of hybrid in that sense, but also you're probably never gonna see me do like a Dragon Rana or anything like.
So, we talked about how you got into. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers that you watch?
So currently, I would say I've been watching a lot of like older like Joshi wrestling. I love like 80s and 90s like women's pro wrestling in Japan because they just go so hard. Like my favorite match could change as I watch more wrestling in my life, but I would have to say it's Dump Matsumoto versus Chigusa Nagayo in their hair versus hair match. You'd you would not see bloodier women's wrestling in the US for like another couple decades. Like it was not heard nor seen over here, and it's just such a spectacle to watch. And kind of what drew me into it even more than kind of what I dabbled in was actually the Netflix series. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, Queen of Villains.
No, I have not.
That is a really good like mini series. I think it's like a 5 or 6 part series. And obviously they kind of embellish some of what Dump dealt with growing up and throughout her career, but they kept true enough to like the story itself that it didn't feel like they were deviating that far. And additionally, they found ways to explain the business without directly like giving it away, so to speak.
Right.
Honestly, watching it, it's given me ways to better explain the machinations of professional wrestling without just kind of like defaulting to, hey, it's choreographed, because it is, but it isn't. I've definitely worked matches where like we just kind of go, we're just told to go out there, hey, entertain the fans for like 7 to 10. There's no choreography. It's just two human beings who hear their music hit and they're out there. They're just doing their
Right.
thing. And so in that way, I do think that there are better ways to explain it, and I know a lot of people will default to choreography, but I haven't really had any matches in my life where I would have more than like a glance-y chance to like practice a few of the moves. Like, choreography involves these routines that you practice, and I know my moves, but like, this Saturday I could wrestle someone I haven't wrestled ever before, and they might not show up until like close to bell time because they have work. So we haven't practiced anything. We're just going out there and like working. We're going out there like with that mentality of, all right, we got to put on a performance that's akin to a combat sport.
What, and
it,
what,
it finally healed, but I ended up getting a bruise that went from here on my bicep. You can still see part of it back here, from just getting hit with a kendo stick a few times. And it took like 2.5 weeks to finally heal.
I always like to tell people, if you think wrestling is fake, um, go to training. Go for a week. You don't even have to do a long period. Go for a week. And if a week does
Oh,
not,
I honestly agree. In a
if
lot of
you,
wrestling schools, they'll even give you like a few classes or up to a week where they're like, if you just can't handle it, we will give you your money back. Like, most wrestling trainers aren't just trying to like fleece people who don't want to do it. Um, a great example, when I trained at Upstart for a while, we kept the ring for training purposes in the same place that a jiu-jitsu dojo was at. So we actually had some of the senseis that would come in and occasionally do a class, and even like the beginners classes, they had better conditioning than most people going into it, but by the end they'd be sweating, and they would say similar things. They're, oh, I thought this was going to be a lot easier because preconceived notions, but like they're sore, they're tired, and they realize that this is the kind of conditioning that we've got to be in.
I definitely, I got a chance to go to a training class for the first time in my life, and I'm already big in respect of wrestling because I know what it is. But
Mhm.
just sitting there and watching my friend do some training and do stuff, I'm just like, Jesus, there's no way in the world I could do that. No way. And I'm like, I'm just watching him run the ropes. I'm like, after the first bounce, I'm tired. I'm standing there sweating for him. Like, man, come on. Ooh, I'm tired. And I always like to tell people, please do it for a week. I just challenge you a week. And I guarantee you're going to have a different respect for what these men and women do for our entertainment. It is happy, as Jim Ross famously would say, well, how can you fake a chair shot? It's that. You just don't know until you're into it.
Facts. No, Professor Bear up here spitting facts. No, but I agree.
So,
I think for anyone who is apprehensive about like giving pro wrestling it's due respect, I do agree. Going to a I'd say even a non-reputable school, go to a reputable school, so at least that week you're there, you can learn something legitimate. But yeah, between the conditioning and just the actual like pain you put your body through, it's, yeah, fake ain't the word for it.
it sure isn't. And again, it's the respect factor that everybody should have. No matter what you do, you need to have respect for it because it's earned and you're doing so much good work today. I mean, when you're wrestling. So again, you just have to be respectful. I think, and that's lost in today's time and age, unfortunately.
I'd agree with that. Is in modern culture, people, because I give it to people who say pro wrestling is, isn't for them, because like any form of
Right.
entertainment, some people have their preferences, but yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those where too many people just they want to talk negative about what other people enjoy, and it's like just focus on what you like. Why the negativity? Like, if you don't like pro wrestling, then go watch some stand up comedy. Like, go be entertained. Like, no, don't be bitter.
Right. And there's too many of us that love wrestling, so we're gonna be okay. Definitely.
Right, like a few people who are gonna get all like up in their feels about it. That it doesn't matter. Like, right. Look at the numbers some of these promotions are pulling. Look at the number of like even indie promotions regularly like selling out their venues. Like we're in a good place, honestly.
Oh yeah. And that's another thing I always, for someone that's not a fan, I always say, don't, if you want to get into wrestling, go to an indie show. An indie show will give
Oh
you a
yeah.
different feel than the big WWEs and AEW. Not saying they're not good, of course, but an indie show is an intimate feeling where you get to see the wrestlers, touch the wrestlers, meet them after the match. It's just so fun. And to me, it's like going to a family reunion. You may not know these people, but they're family because y'all all love wrestling. And they don't mind talking to you. And how many places do you get to go somewhere where you get to talk to the performers and actually meet
Oh,
them?
absolutely.
So yeah,
I'll
indie
say, and I
wrestling.
think that you make a valid point because, like, when I was living in Indianapolis, I had a roommate. They knew nothing about wrestling other than I did it, and that was pretty much it. But they were into like the punk scene and Indianapolis, so there are a lot of like smaller local shows, which actually was kind of cool that they kind of introduced me to that side of things. But they couldn't really wrap their head around like WWE, AEW, like television wrestling. But when they came to a local show I was booked at, just the acoustics, the energy, the beer, all of the camaraderie, it just clicked for them. And they're like, oh, this is like your version of the punk scene, but instead of one of the punk bands, you're a wrestler. I'm like, yes.
That's it.
So, oh, absolutely. So just seeing anything live really is kind of the best way to just like absorb the energy, if you will.
Exactly. Um, wh- what do you like as far as wrestling? Do you prefer being single or do you prefer doing tag team?
Kind of torn. There's just something extra fun about doing tag team wrestling, and fortunately for me, the two people I've tagged with for different reasons, but we have really good chemistry both in and out of the ring. So I feel like I've kind of been spoiled in the realm of tag team wrestling because I have seen people end up getting tagged with someone like they don't mesh with, but oh, they just have a similar look. So everyone in this area wants to see the two of them wrestle, but they can't stand each other. So I think I'd be biased in saying tag wrestling. But I think I'll always be a singles performer at heart because for me, there's a lot of extra work going into like building and hashing out a tag team. And there's a lot that I love about it, but you have an extra calendar. So if I have two
Right.
tag team partners, now I have to book around their calendar and mine. So like being exclusively a tag team kind of needs to be something where like you'd have the members of the team like being like a single unit on that.
Right.
And I guess I've just always been busy and booked up as a singles performer that while I do like tag team wrestling and will do it anytime, I think I'm just kind of more seen as just me, myself, and I.
Understandable. But the one thing that I love that you've been saying is you're a student of the game, and you take the time to learn different styles and different elements, so you'll be prepared for whatever is thrown at you. And that is very good to be multifaceted instead of being stuck as one thing, because that
Oh,
means you can
absolutely.
and that means you can perform anywhere and learn different styles and be ready to change up. You're ready to change up, like, oh, okay, I'm here, I know they do this here, so let me change to this part where I'm super strong at and do less of this.
Exactly. And I part of why I've put a lot of focus and emphasis on like learning the craft the way I have is once again kind of coming in it a little later, like, I have a lot of people who are my peers in terms of experience who might be in their mid 20s. I'm 35, like that decade of me being older, like I have to find ways to use that to my advantage. And a lot of younger kids, they can just plow through with like stubbornness and determination, where for me I'm like I can do that to an extent, but I'm gonna tire of that a lot sooner than they are. So I might as well just learn how to best diversify my skill set. So yeah, I'm not just trying to do immovable object meets unstoppable force. I'm gonna out wrestle that unstoppable force and make him tap out.
And see that to me right there puts you on another plane, because you're not tied down to one style. You're willing to, okay, you're this style. Okay, you're gonna think I'm going this way. I'm gonna go a whole different way that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And I love that. That speaks to your wrestling IQ. And a lot of people don't talk about the being cerebral. I have to steal that from Triple H. But the mental game in wrestling is something very big that a lot of the younger guys and girls don't look at when they wrestle.
Oh, for sure.
So, with that being said, and you kind of touched on it before, but what makes being a role model great for you?
I think I grew up in a situation. I was the youngest cousin, the youngest half sibling. Like, mom passed as a kid, dad didn't handle it well. So I was kind of this like lonely person growing up, kind of raising myself, and I really had no guidance on it, on anything, didn't no one anything from like cooking and like cleaning after myself all the way to like, as I got older, things like balancing my checkbook and like career advice. And once again, in the 90s, like, the few times you'd see trans people in the media, it was as a punchline. So like there wasn't representation. If anything, there was anti-representation. So I think just showing that there can be good, professional, powerful, positive people just like me out there, because I think I would have figured it out a lot sooner if it wouldn't have been like, oh, it's Ace Ventura making like half the plot of a freaking movie that like the trans woman. Where that I struggled a lot more. So if there are people who can, relate to what I do, even if it's not wrestling, like I've had people say that, hey, I've started becoming a photographer because, I see how you got in the ring, even though I'm sure it's scary for you, even though I'm sure it's like, you might be in situations at times that are uncomfortable, but like, so it gives people the courage to do and like live their passions as well. And some of these people aren't even necessarily in the community. They're just like, if someone who sticks out like that just does not give a shit and does what she wants to do to make her life more meaningful, then I'm gonna do it too. And also it keeps me kind of looking in the mirror and focused on like being my best self and not like falling into some traps. Like, in wrestling, it's a lot cleaner than it used to be. Some people still get into various kinds of mischief. So like I've never been the type to go down that path at any point in my life, but like it's you know, if I didn't realize it, no, I have people who look up to me, and there might have been times I'd have made different decisions when around my peers in an attempt to fit in, where I was just like, nah, that's not who I need to be to like, right, be this role model to help uplift others.
I love hearing that, and that is such a great, again, a great attitude and great positivity that is so needed, and especially in the world today. We need all the positivity we could get. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you, and I want you to continue having that positivity and doing your thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm definitely trying. I know with politics, I can get stressed out too, but I think it does help keep me grounded knowing that there are like, I think definitely still the number of good people in the world outnumber the bad. It's just unfortunately the bad ones are loud. So I just try to be louder.
So 5 years down the road, where will you want to be at? Tell me where you at and what you're doing in 5 years.
5 years from now, I want to be in Japan throwing around small Japanese women. Because by then, Aja Kong is going to be full-time retired. So they're going to have that like gap of, we just need a really big, intimidating force. I know, I don't seem intimidating now, but once my music hits, I can get a little more aggressive.
So the goal is to go to Japan and to dominate like Godzilla.
Pretty much. Like, I've even been playing around with the moniker the Kawaii Kaiju. Just because, yeah, I have been leaning into having more of like a monstrous foreboding build, because that is the plan. Is, put my heart and soul into getting to the point where I'm wrestling in Japan. And realistically, just in general, Western frames are bigger than in the East. Obviously that's not all the that's not all the cases, but I am 6 feet tall, so I am pretty sure looking at women's rosters in the world of Joshi that there aren't very many that would be close to my size, let alone like be bigger than me.
Can I give you some advice on someone I think you should look at and take some of their work that I think will fit in well for you?
Absolutely.
If you haven't heard of this man, check out Bruiser Brody.
I love Bruiser Brody, and I actually had someone comment because I shared that whole name a wrestler who I remind you of, and someone was like, honestly, June, when you're wrestling as a heel, you remind me of Bruiser Brody. So you saying that now, I think I'm gonna queue up some Bruiser Brody tonight before bed.
I mean,
The planets are aligning, so I'm being told something.
Bruiser was no nonsense, just straightforward, a killing machine. He, some of the earliest matches I remember as a kid was him and Abdullah the Butcher. It was
Okay,
like
that had to be bloody as hell.
yes, It was like Godzilla taking on King Kong. And the best part of their matches for me as a kid was watching them fight in the crowd and people running for their lives. Like they legitimately thought they were going to die if they got too close to them. And, and
I'm gonna need to watch that. That sounds amazing.
oh, and here's another one I would tell you to watch with Bruiser. How much he sold his image. Nobody thought of him any other way. Watch the match between him and Lex Luger. It was,
Okay.
I believe it was in '85, and it's a Florida, I believe it's Florida Championship Wrestling. Luger and Bruiser were in a steel cage match, and Luger, he was new to the business, so he had his steps what he did, and he hit Bruiser. Bruiser no sold the hit. Luger didn't know what to do, so he hit him again. Bruiser didn't move, flinch, nothing. Luger got legitimately scared, and the referee was Bill Alfonso. And he asked me, like, what should I do? So Bill, he's like, man, hit me and get out the ring. So Luger hit Bill Alfonso and climbed over the steel cage and left. The match was, I think, less than 5 minutes. He legitimately thought that Bruiser was going to kill him. You once you watch that match,
I'm gonna watch that. That sounds amazing.
you will get so much out of being able to sell yourself to another wrestler where they legitimately think you're going to kill them. It was great. But your style, and as big as you are, you could do Bruiser Brody like things and run through Japan, I believe.
I appreciate that. I'll definitely be looking into some more Bruiser Brody's work. Because
Yes,
I think that's the kind of mentality I want to get into. Just be in this. Is she gonna rearrange their face like that? Yeah, no, I like that. Thank you.
no problem. um, so you said you were wrestling this Saturday. Where are you wrestling at again?
So that'll be at Traditional Championship Wrestling down in Jeffersonville, Indiana.
All right. So do you have any shout outs to any promotion, any friends, to yourself? This is your time to shine and let everybody know where they can find you. So the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, big shout outs to some of my favorite wrestling promotions to work at. I've said Divine Pro Wrestling. Also have had the chance to work up at UCW in Saginaw, Michigan. I'm excited to be working at Lethal Lucha next month in Grand Rapids. Also next month I'll be wrestling down in Cincinnati, Ohio it's a combination Pride wrestling show and drag show. I've wrestled there a few times before. I'll be wrestling one-on-one with Storm Garcon. She's Divine Pro Wrestling's their world champion, so one half of the tag champs versus their world champ in a champ-on-champ contest. So really excited for that. And then really just booked out. So last big shout out for promotions. Once again, Pride Wrestling Alliance, Ghazi, I love and appreciate all you do for the world of queer entertainment, and grateful to be on board there. As for humans, kind of a little more adjacent to the business, love and appreciate Ren. She does a lot of photography at wrestling shows. She's pretty well done all of the promo pics I've had done in the last year. Wonderful, very professional, passionate at what they do. Additionally, I have Ruby. They're my partner. They used to do a little bit of wrestling journalism. they took a long break while figuring out their life situation. So they're getting ready to kind of start back up doing the Ring of Awesomeness. So any other workers out there who hear that, reach out to myself or look up Ring of Awesomeness, and I'm sure Ruby would be more than happy to set up an interview. Not to steal your thunder, Professor Bear, but like you said, there's so many different wrestling podcasts. We all do our different things, so I think just helping get more people around more different outlets is a great idea. And trying to think who else to shout out at this time. Coming up blank. So for social medias, you could search Juniper Gates. You could search up Midwest Muscle Mommy, or I know on Instagram someone already took that one, so you'll have to look up Muscle Mommy Juniper. But yeah, fortunately, I have a unique enough name. If you search my first and last, I tend to be in one of the first results. Even if you don't know what social media look on, Google also seems to know who I am. Strangely enough.
Exactly what I was going to say. My friend has put me on when I have to give out all my social. Look me up on Google. That's all you need to do.
And then for anyone looking to get into shape, I am wrapping up my personal training certification course. So the branding for that is going to be Juniper's Garden of Growth. I kind of want to help people out who may feel intimidated by the fitness industry. I know there's a lot of gym bro culture, and a lot of people just either are intimidated or off put by it. I'm not that type of person. I'm definitely more about positive, sustainable changes that fit people's like individual goals. Not everyone wants to be a pro wrestler who's planning on throwing around tiny Japanese women, but I can get you wherever you want to go.
I love it. Love it. Well, I want to once again thank you for doing the show. I super appreciate, and I'm humbled that you would do my show. I just want to give you your thanks and your flowers because I believe people do not get enough flowers when they're here. It's always after you're gone. I believe you need your flowers while you're here. You can appreciate them and to help them grow even bigger. So, again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for all you do for the wrestling community, Professor Bear. Having us on here helps give us a platform. So hopefully we can get some mutual growth out of that.
Oh, definitely. And you have a open invitation. You can come back anytime. I am about just growing, and I don't care if you have a podcast, we can work together on something. I'm just about, as we talked off the camera, I want to leave the business better than I found it. And I feel like if I can help it, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try to do it with a smile on my face. Unless you're Vince Russo. If you're Vince Russo, I got a special message for you. Off you. But anyway, um, definitely it's all love. It's all I want to continue having fun, doing things, and the one important thing that a lot of people don't realize about wrestling. Wrestling is not just a one fix and you're in. Wrestling has so many diverse, different ways of wrestling. So you
Oh, yeah.
need to learn maybe the the old school catch as catch style is not your thing. Maybe you love to watch high flyers where they have wrestling for that. Or maybe you're into the blood and guts type of wrestling. They have that style. But the main purpose is there's so many different styles. Give it a chance before you just say, oh, this is stupid. Give it a chance. You never know.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, like every different style of wrestling brings something different to the table.
exactly. So, guys, girls, thank you so much for joining me today. We are in a great place. I am super happy. Great show. So, yes, join us next time. I am Professor Bear. And remember, support local wrestling. And two paws up. And no, I'm not even going to say the last one because I already said the name enough. But thank you so much. And y'all have a great evening.